So right now my picture is about 3.5 inches by 2.25, pretty random size, and that's way too small. In reality, that's like kind of like a wallet size picture, and we need it to fit on that printmaking block, which is 4 by 6 inches. So there's also a lot of stuff on here in this picture that I don't need. I need that block to be pretty much all face because it's really hard to carve really, really tiny details. So I've got my crop tool. That's the fifth one down over here. I'm going to click on that. And yours is probably going to just look like a random shape. So, yep, you'll probably just have a little box like that around yours to begin with. Now, we could actually set the crop. It's got this little drop down menu in the top. And you'll see something here that says 2, 3, and then in parentheses 4, 6. And that's actually the exact same size as our printing block. So it will have like the same proportions from the left side to the right side, which is great. So I can make this and move around my picture as much as I need to. I'm going to try and keep her hair like those kind of like little flyaway ones on the side. But I also don't really want any blank space either. So I guess I'll just keep it like that. I think that will work out for now. I may even get rid of that hair later. So when I'm really sure that I'm like happy with the size of this project, what should I do to like officially crop it and cut away all the stuff I don't want? What do I need to do to like commit to the crop? Go ahead, Hannah. Check mark or enter key. Perfect. So now I've officially, it's like I took scissors and cut away all the garbage I didn't need. And so that's officially gone, which is good. Okay. So that's the first part. We want to make sure we get to that 4 by 6 size, but you're probably like, oh, that's less than 2 inches now. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. So we're going to adjust the size a little bit. So we'll go to image size, and like the width is some funky number. I'm going to switch it to 4. I know, her poor little face. And then change the height to 6. And then she looks normal again, right? You can go now. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. So there she is. That works out a lot better. Okay. I'll get rid of that crop tool for now. So you could look at the top at my ruler, and we're at 4 by 6, which is great. Fantastic. And this would physically fit on the block. That's probably the first important part of the project. So making sure that it's mostly head and that it's going to fit on the block. That's number 2. Number 3, we need this to be strictly black and white. So the first stage right now is that we're in a billion colors. So how am I going to get down to like a grayscale? If we go to image, mode, grayscale, and it's going to just say discard basically. And voila, she's going to turn to grayscale. That would be the first thing I want us to get to today. How about we take a little pause there and we can get to that point to begin with. And we can pick up from there. Okay. And how about I'll post the steps of the project, pause our video. It's time to remove the background. So we're going to go in and make sure, number 1, that we unlock the layer by clicking the little padlock over here. That's step number 1. Then when you go to remove your background, it just depends on your picture and what technique is going to be best for you. So what are some ways we know how to remove a background? What selection tools can we use? Go ahead, Anna. Magic wand is a great one. Sometimes that will work out pretty well for you. What else? Right underneath it is like the quick select. You have that guy. So sometimes I go in and I use a little combination of the two. So sometimes if I select too much, I can hit my Alt key and kind of give some back. It depends because it's a little trickier with the grayscale. And then I find I go in a lot with my eraser as well. You can even try your background eraser too, but not going to work so well in this case too. So I'm going to go back and forth using all those different tools to erase just my background. And I would recommend, and probably in most cases, you're going to want to use one of those hard brushes because you don't want like their hair or something to fade out. So this part probably would take us 5-10 minutes to just make sure we delete the background. I know it's a little tricky where the hair is right now, especially if you have little wisps, like little pieces of hair like I do. So try and treat those into like chunks. And then you can make your brush really, really tiny and clean those up. I know you're not going to keep all of them. Okay. So let's remove the background. And then when we're totally done with that, I'm going to have you duplicate the layer just so we have an extra copy. So we'll do those 2 steps right now. Totally take out your background. You know how to do that, and take your time. Okay. It's hard when you have little wisps of hair. I don't think anyone in class had them, but I had to break them down into shapes. The good part is if I hate it later, I could always adjust it a little bit more by taking some away. But it's not the end of the world. Okay. What I'm going to do now is make a duplicate layer just so I have like a backup copy, just in case I do some edits that I didn't work out so hot. Another thing that's really important at this point is that I'm going to take a snapshot of my work. So it's going to show up in my history panel here. So when I'm looking at my history, let me close mine up for a minute in case you can't find yours. Window, history. So you'll see it pops up over here. And there's a little camera icon in the lower right of it. So when I click that and I scroll to the top of my history panel, you'll see it says snapshot. So if I do a cajillion edits, like let's say I do 50 edits, I think we know 50 edits doesn't show up in that list. But I can always go back to this point in my process, whether I save right now and close my document or I'm working on this like 5 days down the road. So the nice part is I can always go back to this point, no matter how many edits I do. So after I have my snapshot, now we can really get into like the editing of making it posterized, which is exciting. So I have my snapshot, and in order to turn her to black and white, we use a posterize function. So that's called image, adjustments, posterize. And right now you can see like standard, it gives you 4 or 5, which is very pretty, but we only need 2, which is black and white. And like, it's actually pretty good. It's not bad. What am I looking for? I want to see that like there's a nice separation between like your head and the rest of the body. So you may have like some big chunks of shadow. So where are some places where she has like a big chunk of shadow on her like facial features? Where? Yeah, we're gonna have to do some work on that. Don't worry. Oh yeah, I know, but it's like black and white. It's kind of like a cutout version, but that's why we're here to adjust it. Okay? So we're gonna work on it a little bit so it doesn't like look as off. Okay? So she's got some little extra shadow here and a little extra on her neck. So we're gonna try and make those stand out a little bit more. Okay? So if I have too much shadow in an area, I'm gonna use my dodge tool. That's this little push pin at the bottom. And dodge is just a fancy word for like making something lighter. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to try and posterize it again. Back to 2. And there you go. So you can see I got rid of a lot of that shadow on her eye. I may take off a little bit, but I could go in a little lighter there and maybe I'll go in a little darker on her eyebrows.
So where was the posterize? Like, where do you do that?
Image, adjustments, posterize. And then underneath that dodge tool is the burn tool, and that's a hand. And all that is it's like burning toast. It makes things darker. So it's got like this nice little exposure button at the top where I can move a slider back and forth. So that way it's not so dark. So I went in and I made her eyebrows a little darker. Posterize too. Cool. So now I made those parts stand out a little bit more by making those adjustments. So the burn and dodge tool is really good for making certain parts of your project darker and certain parts of your project lighter. So I'm going to go back and forth and I'm going to try and lighten some of the shadows that are big black splotches. And I also like to make darker parts along my edges. So like on the edge of her shoulder here, so I have a little separation. Maybe I'll do her little collar here too, since she's wearing like a light shirt and her skin is relatively light too. So I'm going to go in and make those parts a little bit darker by using my burn tool. So think like burn toast. I'm going to posterize again, bring it to 2. And at least you can see now I have like a little outline around everything. Now it's more like a coloring book in a sense, like a contour drawing. Okay. So what I'm going for is that I want like an outline around the person's face and their features. And then usually their features are going to be like the darkest parts. Okay. So if there's something wrong with your lighting, which I may have to come around and I'll work with you on that, we can use our levels too and adjust it too. Okay. Who needs help so far? If you have a screen of like just black or just white, I will come over and I will help you.